What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Dan. If you're new to the channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Today we are talking about campsites. What do you do when you get to camp? How do you find a campsite? Where do you sit down? How do you know where to put your tent or anything like that? Like, where's a good place to do it? We're in the Porcupine Mountains of Michigan, which is an interesting place to do this because campsites here have to be reserved, which is a good thing for this video because the campsite's established. It'll be easier for me to kind of show you like places to put tents and all that kind of stuff. A lot of places around the country you can just camp wherever you want. So we'll get into a little bit of that, not a ton. I'll kind of share a few tips, but at least this will give you an overview if you're really new to backpacking and hiking, especially just kind of what goes on when you get to camp. Okay, so when I get to camp, the first thing I'm doing is looking for a place to set up a tent. I'm gonna look for an area that's nice and flat, that's free of debris, that doesn't have any way that water could be running through it, that doesn't have any trees that could potentially fall on me in the middle of the night. I want to make sure that I'm not really close to a water source either, at least in the summertime. This time of year is okay. Summertime, lots of bugs, lots of mosquitoes, so reasonable distance away from water if you can do it. Here, we're actually pretty close to water, and it's really muddy right now. It had snowed here, and it's like 60 some degrees, like upper 60s. So it's like a really weird warm front that came through. It's November, and all the snow melted, so it's just mud everywhere. The campsite that we're at, though, is on a higher ground. You want to look for a campsite that isn't like low, because a couple things. One, cold air can settle in low areas at night, and that can just make what you thought was going to be a warmer night really, really miserably cold. And two, water can tend to run that area, so you want to make sure you're up elevated as much as you can be. And because this is a designated campsite, it was chosen appropriately, so we're not having to deal with any of that here. Okay, so trail comes through here. There is a nice trail blaze right there. That's where the trail is marked. Comes through a little bit of a creek. Trail comes up here, rounds over here, and there is the designated campsite. We've got ourselves a fire ring, got a few, pretty rough benches. One of the guys we're hiking with has a nice sit pad here. I have a chair that I sat down in and ate some coffee, cooked it right there, set down my backpack. But one thing you'll notice right away is I'm keeping my food bag off the ground right here. Here's why you keep your food bag off the ground. I'm not concerned about bears, even though this is an area where bears do exist. I have never seen one here. They are around, so you do have that to, I guess, be a little bit concerned of. But they're black bear here, and they're more interested in your food than they are you. And they're really not wanting to harm you or bother you. I am concerned, though, about the rodents, so like mice or chipmunks. Last night, we were dealing with mice. So me sitting in this chair here, a mouse will still try to get into my food bag as I'm sitting there. They'll try to get into my hip belt pockets. Anything that I've got, that's remotely smelly, that would be appetizing to a mouse, is of interest to them. And because people unfortunately feed them at campsites, they become not scared of people. So they will come right up to you and start chewing on your stuff. So I always make sure this thing is off the ground. They are ruthless. So as soon as I'm done eating, luckily here they have a bear pole right there that you can hang your food on. So let's go do that. Let's show you how that's done. Okay, so different campsites have different ways of helping you with getting your food put in places where bears and things can't get to them. Some places have food boxes. Some places require you to have bear canisters, which is just like a mini barrel that you can put all your food in, and it's hard-sided so bears can't get into it. Other places you have to hang your food. So this place has a bear pole. So we're supposed to put our food on this thing, which looks a little janky. It looks like a bear already started pulling it over. And over there is actually another one laying on the ground, so who knows what happened to that one. There's metal poles here. These ones just happen to be laying on the ground, and those are used to hook your food bag on, and then you hook it up on the hook. Hook it up on the hook. I'll just show you. So not every place has conveniences like this. Some places you actually have to hang your own food bag in a tree. If that's the case, you should really have it like 10 feet off the ground and several feet away from the tree in case an animal tries to climb the tree and reach out or jump over to your food bag, which they will do. Just a metal hook. Right like that. And then when you're done, hang up the pole like that if you can. Just makes it easier for people to find. Okay, this is a different situation in that we got to camp really early, and I did that because I wanted to film some video for you guys. But normally I am setting up my tent first, so that's done because I just want to get that out of the way. And when I'm really tired, then I can just eat, hang my bag of food, and then crash for the night. So let's walk through picking out a site to actually lay down my tent. Okay, so because this is a designated campsite, we're supposed to camp within a reasonable distance from the actual logo that's on a tree right near here that says that this is a campsite. And you'll see right away that the fire ring is here, and a buddy of mine set up his tent here, and the next best place is actually going to be this flat spot right here. So I don't like this though, because look how close it is to the fire ring. I mean, that is probably 10 feet from there. And a couple problems. One, obviously fire, right? Embers and that kind of thing. But at night, after maybe the fire has died down, man, if the wind shifts, I'm going to get smoke in my tent all night long. So I'm really not liking this area, so I'm going to try to find a different location. Okay, so right here looks pretty good as well. But the reason I don't like this spot, even though it's flat and not too much debris there, it looks like I could put a tent here, is that the trail is right here. So I know that later on this evening, a lot of people are going to be potentially walking past here and going across. There's a river over there to some other campsites that are probably reserved tonight. And I really don't want them real close to my tent. I don't want to be bothered, that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of a trail that kind of goes off this direction. So let's walk that way and see what we can find. Okay, so I think I found a spot. There is a trail here, but it dead ends right there. I think people just kind of walk this way just to see what may be over here, and there's nothing over here. But this, I've started to clear it here. This little spot right here, this dirt area, it looks really, really nice and flat. Now, you'll see that there is a little bit of a root there. There's probably, oh yeah, one right here as well, which that could be an issue. Now I've got an air pad, so an air pad will absorb some of that on the ground, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Plus, I can lay my tent long ways this way and avoid that. So pretty flat area off the ground, like I said. We're up high enough. There's a river back there, so that's far enough away. If it was summertime, I'm not worried about mosquitoes. And this looks like it could be a really good spot. Okay, so my tripod broke, which means I'm gonna have to hand hold, and I can't like show you real time how I'm setting this thing up. So anyway, I just staked out the four corners of my tent. Any tent, you're gonna have to do this. Even if it's a freestanding tent, I still recommend you do this because you're gonna get the most out of your tent, being able to spread out the legs and get as much room inside of the tent as possible. So I got the four corners staked out. Next, I'm going to use trekking poles because this is a trekking pole tent on each end, and then I'm going to tension the lines, and the tent should be good to go. Oh, but I did put a piece of ground cloth underneath here. This is just polycro. It's very, very lightweight material. It's similar to the stuff that like your grandma put on her windows when she was trying to, you know, save on her heating bill. So when you put down your tent, make sure that your ground cloth is there first. And then also pay attention to the direction of your tent. So like for instance, if it's a lot of wind that's going to be happening that night, you want the strongest side of your tent, like the side that has the most poles maybe facing the wind. So that way when the wind is blowing on it, it's not bending over on you all night long, because that's never fun. Okay, tent's all set up, looking nice and taut. It's one of my better pitches, by the way. Also, I didn't have all the stakes. I actually left two of them at home by accident. So if that happens to you, you can always just grab a couple of sticks like I did, and you can use those as stakes. So The last thing that I would do while I'm here at camp is I would now unload all of the gear that I want inside of my tent, which is, you know, anything that I want throughout the night to have access to. I want obviously my sleep pad, my sleeping bag, all that I'm going to lay out inside. And I would do that as early as I can because a down sleeping bag needs a little bit of time to loft up. I'll have my electronics in there in case I need to, you know, check the time, or if I have to send a satellite message to my wife or anything like that at all. I'll also have maybe a bottle of water in there with me, screwed on really nice and tight because I don't want that leaking. But it's just nice to have access to water if you get thirsty in the middle of the night. And then the other thing, one more thing, is I pitched my tent with the head end away from the hill here, because I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night, you know, half asleep and go tumbling down a hill. So I'm going to pitch away from danger. If I can, if, you know, weather allows and that kind of thing. Otherwise, I may end up finding a different place to set up a tent altogether. And honestly, that's pretty much it. So that's what I do when I get to camp. Hopefully that helps you guys out. And if you guys have tips yourself, or maybe you've got your way of doing it, man, let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear some of the tips, some of the tricks, some of the things you would do differently, some of the things that you saw that I did that you would never do. Please comment below. And if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Also subscribe for more. Hit the bell notification so that I can send you a video every time it's released. And I'll see you on the next one.